Hey, welcome to week 3 of our Peacemaker series, and I already know what you're thinking because this morning I got up, I got dressed, I looked in the mirror, I walked out of the house, and after getting to work, I realized I probably should have stood in front of the mirror just a little bit longer because if I would have realized I've got the same shirt on that I had on for the taping of the other 2 sessions. So give me a little bit of a break here on that one. No conflict needed at this point. You know, the other day I was out on a drive and I put on my sunglasses. And when I put on my sunglasses, I don't know what happened, but something got caught in my right eye. And it was so irritating and so frustrating. And when it came time to finding it and looking for it, I couldn't see it. I couldn't locate it. And so for the rest of the afternoon, I was thinking to myself, this is going to be a miserable deal if I have to keep walking around trying to find that speck that's in my eye that I can't see at all. It's kind of interesting because when you think about conflict and when it comes to the issue of resolving conflict, one of the things that we all have to come to terms with is that many times in conflict, there are usually 2 sides to it. There's the one that you're in conflict with, and there's you. And the fact is that there's probably a little bit of you that's a part of this conflict as well, or there may be a lot of you that's a part of that conflict too. And one of the ways in which we bring glory to God, as we talked about last week, is really stepping back a little bit and kind of taking a look in the mirror, looking not so much for the speck you see in the other person's eye, but actually looking for the log that exists in your eye. And so this evening, what you're going to do is you're going to spend some time talking about that, talking about what Jesus talked about in Matthew chapter 7. In other words, stop trying to pay so much attention to the speck in that person's eye instead of taking time to look in the mirror and focus on the log that very well could be sticking out of your eye. Because if you'll take time to focus on the log, there's probably a huge probability that this conflict can get resolved in a way that can bring glory to God. And so Bob and Anita, who are 2 of our single folks around Pathway, are going to talk a little bit about that very issue of what it means to look in the mirror as it relates to the conflict that you may find yourself in, and you coming to terms with what you need to own. And that when you come to terms with what you need to own, it actually serves as a bridge to unite, as we've been talking about, and not a wedge to divide. So have at it. Here's Bob and Anita.
Hi, I'm Bob Davis. I've been going to Pathway for about 8 years now. I've got 3 kids, age 21, 17, and 12. I'm a single parent, and as far as what I'm involved in here at Pathway, I'm part of the singles ministry team. I co-lead a single small group with another single, and then I also coach some small groups here too.
Hi, I'm Anita Venata. I have been going to Pathway for almost 5 years now. I am a single mom. I have 2 teenagers, 14 and 16, and I'm involved in the singles ministry team, and also I'm a co-facilitator in divorce care, and have been in 2 different small groups here at Pathway, one with singles and one with mixed marital. But the reason we're here today is because often people find themselves in a single situation where they didn't intend for that to happen. And getting to that point, there's a lot of conflict involved, and there's a lot of conflict involved afterwards. So we're here to address that.
Yeah, and so hopefully some of what we've learned in the process of dealing with conflict could help you as well for your current and or future relationships. So we all want healthy, happy marriages that ultimately glorify God. And so today, though, it's not just about singles, it's about all of us and all of our relationships in whatever context that is, because conflict is unavoidable, it happens, and so we need to develop the character and skills to be able to deal with that appropriately. And so with this Get Real portion of this series, we're talking about the mirror, to first look inwardly about our contribution to make sure that we're taking full ownership of our role. Whatever small or great it was still our role in that conflict. And so for us to take full ownership of that first.
Throughout my adult life, and I've learned that I need to take a chance, step back and look in the mirror, look at what's going on inside of me when I'm in a conflict situation, and understand what it is in me that's creating the conflict. I can't control what anyone else does. I can only control what I do. And taking those thoughts, being aware of how I feel, and just taking a pause so that I can understand what's going on inside of me before I do anything else has become really important.
So this whole concept of looking in the mirror first is crucial for all of our relationships, and we never graduate from it. None of us do. It's always a great principle to do. I worked in this one job situation for a couple years, and unfortunately, the boss had a pretty consistent way of pointing out blame for everybody that he worked with at these staff meetings. And even when we clearly saw he had a role in this miscommunication that was an ongoing thing, he still didn't take ownership of it. And it made it very challenging for all of us. And so ultimately, all of us that were in full-time staff resigned from that particular job.
For me, I've seen people come to divorce care unwilling to do the work that it takes to look in the mirror and make the changes that need to happen in order to bring the healing that needs to happen. Sometimes people come back after 2, maybe 3 marriages before they understand that they really need to stop and look at the things they're doing that are contributing to the conflict that's ultimately ending in failed marriages.
That verse out of Psalm 139, the last couple of verses, comes to mind. Search me, try me, see if there's any hurtful way in me. That's an awesome verse, and especially on the heels of a relationship that didn't work out. It's like, all right, Lord, what do I need to learn? What do I need to grow in to be able to do it better next time? And so help me to be fully accountable, fully take full ownership of the situation.
And it's humbling and it's hard work. So one last thought I want to leave you with today is the fact that wisdom, true wisdom, is first of all peace-loving, and we find that in James and on my refrigerator in my kitchen.
And a couple thoughts that come to my mind in terms of what I could leave with you. Something I've learned and am learning, right, because we never graduate from it, is never yell, never threaten, and don't call names. Listening is more important than speaking, James 1:19, I think. And again, just the principle of taking ownership of our issues first helps diffuse the conflict and work through the issues there that are going on. Before we turn it over back to your small group hosts, one of the things that we thought would be great to emphasize is what Ken Sande talks about as the 7 A's of confession, or the 7 A's of apologies. There's a ton of wisdom built into those. And to the extent that you and I live those out, I think our conflicts are going to go so much better.
Thank you for letting us share with you in your small group today.